What's up, everybody? We are here. Another edition. Geek Cypher. Kind of crazy.
Again.
Every time I look at the number, I'm just like, my God, we've made this many episodes.
That's good.
I know. No, it is good. It just feels kind of crazy sometimes.
You will feel old after knowing how many episodes you've done. That's bad. But you have a good sense of accomplishment. That's good.
Big facts. Buddy, it's the day before Deadpool.
Oh my
3.
goodness. Trying to avoid everything.
Well, I was just going to
So
start
watch this review.
I was just going to start us off. They spoiled stuff in their own trailer. They spoiled a cameo that I feel was a major cameo in one of their own trailers. I was like, why did you show this person?
That's why I was like, I remember in the chat I mentioned I'm going to avoid watching all the new trailers, all the reviews. I'm just kind of blacking out as much as I can. Just not going to deal with it.
I mean, at some point though, I feel like they need to take responsibility and start to recognize that you're not giving fans the opportunity to enjoy the content or be surprised if in the trailer you show the special cameos.
They don't care, man. If the director or the creative people that made the movie don't have that, I guess they don't put it in their contract like, hey, I want control of what's going on with the marketing. Usually they're like, no, we need to make sure everybody sees everything or sees the important parts and comes out. So, like, I mean, remember, they don't care. Remember, Terminator 2. This started at Terminator 2. The whole big premise of Terminator 2 is like, oh man, Arnold's back. He's still the bad guy. Yeah. Oh man, how are the humans going to defeat Arnold now in Terminator 2? And it's supposed to be a reveal in the movie that he's not the bad guy.
Right.
And then they did it again with Terminator Genesis, where they're like, oh, hey, the new Terminator? John Connor? Wait, what? Yeah. Why would you tell me in the trailer? Then I have no reason to see this movie.
Yeah.
He was supposed to protect his mom. Now he's going to kill his mom. Like that plot twist.
Like, trailer culture has gotten out of hand. I don't know if do you think it's because they fear people won't want to go see the movies, or they're worried that the spoilers are going to get out, so they're trying to get ahead of them?
I feel they think people are still undecided and they're just like, well, here's everything. Here's all the stuff. And now that you know all the stuff is there, come see it. Come see, like, sometimes some people want to be spoiled. Like, I know somebody that's like, I don't want to be shocked and surprised. Just tell me what the spoilers and I'll still see the movie. So some people are like that.
I know Skinny famously likes to go and spoil stuff for himself and says if it's good enough, he'll still go watch it.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine that is the consensus for everyone who watches these movies. Like, I don't imagine most people have that. I could be wrong. Storytelling always seemed.
I was gonna say, if that was the case, then you would see a correlation between, hey, this trailer dropped, and then all of a sudden no one came to see our movie. That's how it would kind of. This trailer came out, had the big spoiler in it, and then straight up no one came to see our movie.
But the thing is, well, a Deadpool trailer has too many cameos in it. Like, the last trailer shows major cameos that I think really ruins, at least for me, a major surprise that I was excited to potentially see. Like, with the last Spider-Man movie, I know they never revealed that all three of them were going to be there, even though everyone was 100% sure. And I kept saying, I don't believe they're going to be there because I didn't want them to be there.
Same.
Yeah, people were getting mad at me being like, yo, no, they're going to be there. Like, stop being ridiculous. I was like, I don't want them there. So
I feel they could have done the old 60s Spider-Man meme as a poster. Just straight up take, like, we own that image now. Just straight up put that image, put Spider-Man No Way Home, just put it in there.
The third Spider-Man
all
movie?
masks on.
Yeah.
I gave it a 6 out of 10, which people think is a bad grade, and I don't understand. 6 out of 10 is not a bad grade for a movie.
No,
For a
that's
movie
not bad.
nowadays, that sounds pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's not
No,
even a
that's not bad.
70%.
That's like it's a good movie. That's solid.
It's a Quebec pass.
Yeah.
It's not even honor roll. It's a Quebec pass. You know 50% of the material, plus 10%. Okay, fine. That you have a knowledge of slight knowledge of everything.
I don't know. I feel like I gave it a high score, but probably because the nostalgia.
Yeah, that's for me. My thing was I wanted a movie. Well, first of all, I'll make it quick because we've talked about this in the past. But for me, one of the major issues with that film was Peter Parker didn't get any smarter over the span of the 3 films. Like the last movie is predicated on the fact that he just got tricked in the second movie, and then immediately in the third
Mm,
movie he gets tricked again. And that to me feels like you're telling me he didn't learn any lessons from the stuff that literally just happened. It didn't happen like 10 years ago. It happened just off like the movie starts where the other movie ends. So
but he's a
between
kid.
Yeah.
you just got like if you burn your hand on the stove, you know enough not to burn your hand the next time. Like, how many times do you
I
have to
agree though, like he's a kid and burning your hand on a stove is very different from being a superhero.
No,
And
but
then
Jaws,
originally having
he
your
got burnt.
mentor Tony
Yeah, but
Stark
I know a burn
not there
thing.
anymore.
Yeah, but Jaws. I mean,
Mm.
he got burnt. The guy that he entrusted was a murderer who was trying to kill him. I think that's worse than putting your hand on the stove.
But you know who else got burnt in that second movie? Along with him?
Who?
Who?
Shield. They didn't know he was faking the whole time either, and they're supposed to be on top of that.
But that's not even
The fake
Shield.
Shield didn't know.
We find out that those are Skrulls. So I understand them making mistakes. They're not Nick Cage, and they weren't Maria Hill. That's the thing. You're
I
telling me
know, but he doesn't. But I'm saying Spider-Man doesn't know any of that.
No. Spider-Man doesn't know any of that. But Spider-Man puts his trust in Mysterio. Then you get to the end of the movie. Mysterio has backstabbed him. You get into the beginning of the third movie, and there's a bunch of villains showing up after he does some shit, and he gets himself messed up, and he goes to Doctor Strange, and portals start opening, and villains start showing up. And his aunt says, well, no, you got to help them. And instead of him saying to her, hey, I just had an experience where a villain tried to murder me that was supposed to be a good guy. I don't think I should take the responsibility of trying to fix all their problems. I should send them home and let them deal with their universes. That is equally a good option as trying to save them. And instead, he tries to gather them all up to save them and proceeds to lose his aunt. Like that to me as a story made no sense that he was stupid enough to let that happen. It's bad writing.
I feel like like the way they flipped it with this particular universe's Spider-Man is that his aunt is his Uncle Ben. Like
Right,
you never
of
meet
course.
Uncle Ben whatsoever.
Yes.
And
but that's
that
meta.
I think that he still has that thing from Tony Stark telling him, I want you to be better than me. I want you to like not just this is not my problem, shove it off. Like
Whoa,
I want like
it's not a factor of not his problem. It's literally people not from his universe, and he's offering to get them home. That is still a fair option. I'm not saying to dump them in a box and leave them out in the middle of the ocean. Get them home so they can be taken care of in their own universe. It's not a abandon all ye who come here. He's still trying to help them. Just getting them home was helpful.
But then also I feel like the other part of that story is to have those other Spider-Man kind of what's the word I'm looking for? They have their arc because their storylines are completely dead and gone.
Right.
And then we kind of conclude their stuff, their issues. Amazing Spider-Man gets to have his redemption arc for saving somebody. And then the other one, and he's not, just straight up murking dudes by not pulling punches because we know Spider-Man is like actually really strong and he pulls his punches.
Yes.
Superman is really strong. He pulls his punches.
Superman's not even trying to punch you. He is essentially trying to fold paper when he hits you. But I get everything you're saying. I'm just saying the reason I gave it a 6 on 10 is because
Mhm.
everything you're saying should have been able to have been told better. There is definitely a better way other than making it that Peter Parker learned no lessons between the second and third movie so that we could tell you the story of the third movie.
Mm.
That's problematic to me. Yes, I do think we can show Peter wanting to save people. I do think you can still kill Aunt May. I do think you can still have the lessons from Tony. I do think you can have all of those things without making it that a character learned absolutely nothing between two movies. So
You're not
this
wrong. You're really
this
not
is
wrong.
what
I can't
I
even
I
like
feel like
argue with you.
I feel you're not
But
wrong, but I also feel like that's Spider-Man though. He has to have the world on his shoulders and everything like that, and we're always gonna reboot him back to
You're
square one
character-wise,
to be the
character-wise though, I think it's right. I just feel like seeing all of them come back, like seeing them together was just it was a nice like
for sure.
nostalgic feeling. That's
Uh,
probably why I rated it so high, but you're right about him not really learning
and
anything.
and people like Spider-Man. People are gonna give Spider-Man a pass
That's
whenever
the
he comes around.
thing.
and that's the thing.
He's
That's
one of
why
the best superheroes.
Right. But that's why when I gave it a 6 on 10 and everyone started yelling at me, telling me, oh, you didn't understand the story. You don't really like Spider-Man. I was like, I love Spider-Man. The reason I'm giving it a 6 on 10 is because there is a better version of that story if you dig harder. And instead, they went surface. They were like, what is the quickest way we can tell the story in which we get all of this? Oh, Spider-Man has learned nothing. He
They
did
wanted to grab the
everything.
audience,
Yeah.
especially with the two of them coming back. It was
Yeah.
they wanted to just it was like a nostalgic reboot, you know?
Right. And
Also,
if
there's a
people,
lot of money on that table. There's a lot of Oscar winners in that
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
a lot
This
of
is the
people,
problem with a lot of blockbusters though, I
yeah,
think.
they're putting too much money into the cast and not into the writing.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
it tends to be more of a money grab, so the story is not as strong as it could be because they're
Yeah.
trying to just cater to the average person. So
Yeah. Yeah.
they're making it accessible for everyone, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, again, that's my thing. There is a better version of the story in there. If they
Mhm.
didn't want to write it, that's okay. The version you wrote to me came to a 6 out of 10. Again, as a fan, as someone who genuinely loves Spider-Man, case in point, like surrounded by Spider-Man and Batman in this room. I love
Mhm.
that. I loved watching the movie. I just didn't like seeing Peter Parker be stupid. Peter Parker in the comic books is a next tier genius. He runs his own
He's like
firm.
a prodigy or whatever, right?
He's
But
a
then-
prodigy.
But he still gets duped by was it Dormammu, doesn't he?
In the comic book?
In the comic book. So like
I
so
mean-
he has the arc where he's like, I'm running my own company, I'm like, you
Right.
know, I'm Incredible Spider-Man, da, 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 da. And then he's like, oh man, I wish everything was back how it was before.
Oh, one
and
day.
then,
Right. Yes. That
and then everything gets reset, and everyone's like, no,
Jaws.
we finally get to
But-
see him win.
Jaws, even you, like anyone who knows that story knows that the writers did that because they wanted to put him back because they realized they didn't feel they had as many stories to tell with an adult Peter Parker or
He's winning.
a winning Peter Parker. So what did they do? They ruined his life so they could start from scratch. That
And
to
I mean,
me is bad storytelling.
Well, I
which
mean, they
which
even did
fans have
that.
said.
I feel like they even did that with not is it Into the Spider-Verse? The animated one?
Well, there's Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, and the third is going to be
Okay,
Beyond the
yeah,
Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse. So in Miles's time, in Miles's universe,
Yeah.
that Peter Parker has his, I think he has his own, like he has his own secret
Oh,
lair
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Like he's doing very
Mhm.
well.
Yes,
And
he's
it's
doing
like
very,
if
very
we
well.
have him around, he would have resolved everything. He's basically Superman, Thor, Hulk.
Yeah, he had like
Anytime you
his
have
own
a story like
album.
that, Rogue,
Right.
Dwarf, you got to knock those people out. Like you got to get rid of those people, or else you have no story.
But his death made sense. He fought Kingpin and died because he was trying to stop a collider at the same time as fighting Kingpin. That to me is a more grounded story that leads to Peter Parker's death. Peter Parker in the comic book could have died 101 times. It's just that the writers are not going to kill Peter Parker, obviously, so he never dies. But in that movie,
Unless you're
they're
Ultimate
just like,
Spider-Man.
Right.
Hey, I was just kidding.
But like, if you're gonna write a story where you're like, okay, well, and obviously, I mean, you made the point just there. Ultimate Spider-Man is the universe where Miles Morales is Spider-Man now because Peter dies, and that's what the movies are based on. So at least they grounded his death to be something more logical,
meaningful.
Yeah, like he died in a very specific way, and it works.
Yeah.
As opposed to he dies pointlessly without any reason because he makes a deal with the demon to change the entire. And I think it was Mephisto that
Mephisto. Thank you. Yeah. Sorry, Dr. Dormammu. Wrong person.
Yeah, Dormammu's the one that fights with Strange a lot.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you have this character who has this great lore. You finally give him the win. Like you were saying, he stayed winning. He's married. He's got the company. He's got people working with him. Everything's going well. And the writers were probably like, this is boring. Which is why the same thing the writers do with Superman. Every time Superman is like in a perfect situation, oh no, there's a new color of kryptonite that depowers Superman or makes him evil, or
well, yeah, you get written into a box. It's like you've already told all the stories you can tell with a Superman. Like it's in his name. He's supposed to be the best of all of us, kind of thing. So you gotta bring him down a peg and make him weak somehow, or else it's just like, well, then he just becomes Bugs Bunny. And your story is only 3 minutes long. The end.
and I think it is unfortunate that happens to Superman. And I always explain to people that the reason Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, all of your favorite heroes that were around from the OG, the like golden age of comic book heroes, the reason they all got so overpowered is because all the kids that read them at that time saw them as bigger than life. So when they got their chance to write them, they wrote them bigger than life. And then the next generation read those comic books, and then they wrote them bigger than life. So you ended up in a world where Superman has flown across the universe in the comic book in the blink of an eye. Not just around the planet. We're talking he's traveled universes in the blink of an eye. Doesn't even make sense. Superman's never been able to do that, but now canonically he's done that. And it's like,
he comes back and Jimmy Olsen's great grandkids are here. Jimmy, what? You look so different. Oh, that's my great grandfather. You're talking about Superman.
But it's stuff like that it's like, y'all overdid it. Same thing with Spider-Man. Like, I like Spider-Man, and I like that. To me, the thing that makes Spider-Man more interesting is you gave him a rogues gallery of villains who keep him busy. Like, the best characters to me are characters like Spider-Man, Batman, Flash, because those guys have rogues that keep them busy. Superman doesn't have rogues like that. Like Lex Luthor and Metallo. Yeah, the magic one. Like,
Missy Pix. However you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Who loves Superman like that though?
Right. He doesn't. Love him as a character.
Yeah, no, like in general as a superhero, like nobody really likes Superman like that.
I think people
he used to be the most popular.
Yeah, I think the problem is that we haven't had a good Superman storyteller since maybe Smallville.
No, but I'm talking like in terms of like nerd culture. No one really says that their favorite superhero is Superman.
I would say not anymore.
Brave. Well, I agree with you, but I do think there are people who are going to be mad with that statement because
I think it's an age thing. I think it's definitely an age thing. If you grew up with the Christopher Reeve Superman, and maybe a bit of Smallville and the animated series and all that stuff, then
I'm trying to think. I'm like, every person I've spoken to who like actually reads the comics and stuff never says that like Superman is their favorite hero. So
I think Superman's like a gateway. He's like the first superhero you like, and then afterwards you're like,
obviously
he's not.
He's the OG. You have to respect him. He literally is like the strongest person in the universe.
Yeah. He's like the archetype for a lot of heroes.
Yeah, so it's like I'm putting respect on his name, but
he's boring.
I'm agreeing with you. Like I think
he's not.
Stay with your whole chest, Ness. He's boring. He's a boring character. He can't do anything interesting because he's too OP.
Your words.
I'll say it all day. I have said this for years. Superman is a super fun character, but guess what? He's also boring AF because you made him so OP Like I said, the man could travel across universes. I'm not talking a planet. I'm not talking the edge of his own solar system. In the comic book, the man traveled universes. Stop it. That's
And I'm sorry,
boring
he's not even
storytelling.
relatable. He's
Yeah, it's
not even
not.
relatable.
He's
I
not.
think it's mostly because I think it's like again a generational thing, because I mean the story of Superman is like, oh man, he's supposed to be like the ultimate immigrant person. Like he
Right.
comes here, he wants to do good, but there's still this kind of fear of
Immigrant?
everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is though, Ness. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
No,
is.
no,
He
I
was
know,
created
I know
by
he's not from here. I know, but I just meant immigrant as in. It's funny that he's an immigrant, but the
Exactly.
character is a tall, white
Exactly.
male who
Well,
looks
yeah.
like an
You
who
could
looks
tell
like an
you
American.
you could tell only a white man would say that they're designing the immigrant story with an alien from another planet
Yeah.
who looks exactly like everyone and faces no prejudice when he like.
But he's
no,
also
but
like
like
the American
the
stereotype.
creation, the two creators of them were two Jewish guys.
Yes.
And
One
that's
of them
what they're
was
feeling. They're like,
Canadian.
we're invisible minorities and we can
Right.
pass, but
Right.
we do hear people talking mad shit about us around us, but they
but the
don't know that we're
right. But the difference is Superman literally doesn't have that except for a small minority of people who talk about him like that.
Yeah, like one of the most richest people in the world and influential people.
But who is constantly fighting to dethrone Superman and doesn't do it because the public loves Superman. It's funny that these two
until he becomes president and starts.
Jaws.
But no,
You're
I'm trying to.
You're trying to give an example. I'm talking about in the entire lore of Superman. I'm not talking about the blip where he's no. Come on, Jaws. I have the 200 run of comics.
No, but
you can't compare the small
I'm
time.
saying there's stuff that's happening now that's pretty parallel with what's going on. But
not talking about that. I'm talking about these.
Talk about it.
You started the example of the guys that created him. I'm sticking to that story.
Yeah.
The guys who created him felt like they were not visible minorities and wrote this story.
Mm-hmm.
And in your description just now, you said they felt like people were talking about them and they weren't visible, so they would overhear these people hating on them as Jews, and that was problematic. But even in the comics, Superman does not face that. He has one rich multi-billionaire constantly yelling how much he hates him, but then an entire
I don't think he was a billionaire yet. I think he was like a
politician.
Red hair.
He's a scientist and he's a politician, whatever. But it's an influential one person versus an entire city and planet of people supporting. They added other people who dislike Superman later on, but most people in the comic book love Superman. The best example of a minority story is the X-Men, because those people literally get hate from jump. That's a minority story. When Stan Lee was just like, I'm Jewish and like that's someone actually saying this is a minority story. I'm going to write this story, and this is what it feels like to be hated by people.
I mean, you kind of have to look at it in the context of when it was written, also.
Sure.
So I mean,
but in my
because I mean, the original team of X-Men are all white too,
and
no, then they get the international team.
But when it comes to Superman, they're making it like a minority story. However, he's
someone that can pass.
Yeah, like realistically, he's literally the American
dream.
Like
right.
Yeah. So it's like for them to be making a minority story, it doesn't really it's not even relatable. Like, and that's why that's part of the reason I said Superman is not even relatable. He's just this perfect white person who's who's the strongest person on earth. Like,
what's even funnier is that his main villain used to be redheaded. Lex Luthor is a redhead.
Yeah, redheaded scientist.
Straight up hating on redhead.
But that's it. Funny that as a minority they made him as the minority. It's just weird.
Again, I'm saying you have to look at it back in those contexts where
I know
I don't get it.
No, but I'm just the point I'm trying to get.
I'll let you finish.
Think about. I remember there was an interview when Nardwuar did with what's his name, James Brown.
Right.
And back in his days, he couldn't even put his face on his records because they were like, we don't want a black person on our records. We're not picking it up. So he either had to put blank or put women on his records, and people were still So I'm saying, I mean, they could put, a Mexican, a black person, but is any kid gonna pick that up and want to have that
Okay,
power fantasy
fine.
at
Okay,
that
you're
But then
time?
don't make it a minority story.
right. So Jaws, because I didn't feel
I
like
don't
the
think.
point you're making was clear at first.
Mm.
You're saying you wouldn't have even been able to sell the comic had you put a person of color. You needed to put a white
Fair.
character to sell
And
the
I
comic.
think also like
Granted.
like maybe the main thing isn't because back then comics were for kids. So they're like, oh, if we give the kids this power fantasy, but those
Right.
guys that are writing it, actually the underlining thing is this
Mhm.
person that came to America and he wants to do good and
Right.
truth, justice in the American way, blah blah blah. So
Right.
everyone's like, oh yeah, this guy's awesome, blah blah blah.
But
But
here, question: wouldn't it have been better if you everything you're saying, but make it that the public doesn't trust Superman because he's so powerful?
I don't think
Because
you're
they
gonna.
made the public trust Superman. So what
From
happens is
jump.
from jump, the public
I
loves Superman. So there's no immigrant story. Like, I get the point you're making. You're trying to spoonful of sugar. You're trying
Yeah,
to
I
add a
understand
little bit
too.
of the
I think
immigrant
you're.
story in.
I think you're jumping well ahead in the sense of back in those days, it was just a comic book for kids, fights bad guy of the day,
Yeah.
rinse, repeat. And
But
then
you
as
wait,
those
Josh,
kids
hold
get
on,
older,
Josh. You're the one that made the point that they were writing the minority story. I'm not jumping ahead. That's where you started. I'm
I'm
staying
saying
on
that
your
their
point.
underlining thing was that, but I'm saying
Right.
I'm also pointing out that at the beginning, that's what comic books were. Just
Yeah.
bad guy, this, that, da, da, da. But I
Yeah.
For
understand that,
sure.
like, yeah, from the jump, they should have, but that's not everybody's. That wasn't what was everyone's thinking at that time. People weren't like, hey, you know what? We need to make these characters more deeper, more
Yeah, that I
interesting and stuff.
understand.
We're not there. The public conscious is not there yet.
That I totally understand. My only issue with it is even if at the time it made sense and whatever to sell and
Mhm.
whatever,
Yeah.
why make it a minority story if you're creating the ideal
Yeah.
American,
Because
right? So
because then
it's not a minority story
yeah,
anymore at that
because
point.
what you're describing is they are arguing within themselves to sell a comic book and tell the story a minority story, but also they want to sell as many issues as possible. So they had the idea to do the minority story with Superman,
Mhm.
but then they realized doing it would be harder to sell, so they stripped that away or diminish
Right.
it to just tell the
'Cause I
story of
think
the white, blue-eyed American ideal, which
because I think
doesn't
like
come
you're basically writing what you know, but you already
right.
know like, this might be a bit
Yeah,
too much. Let's try
but
and dial it
either
back a bit.
yeah, but either create the American dream story and just make him this powerful white guy,
Right.
or make him green or something. You know,
And
like
then
why?
probably
Yeah.
people will probably think like, "Oh, isn't that just Captain America?" And it's like, "Well, no, our guy comes from he's an alien and he lands in America and these two people take care of
Well,
him."
but
But
I mean, sure. So
No,
at
but
that time,
Captain America is more about protecting America,
yeah,
whereas like Superman is just the most powerful being in the
yeah, because
universe.
but also about America too.
Well, sure, but
Well,
Captain America
yeah, no,
was war stories, and Superman was about
yeah,
fighting like Superman fought like random criminals too. Captain America didn't
yeah,
fight random criminals when he first got introduced.
Mhm.
Captain America specifically is fighting Nazis, so that makes sense
exactly.
that he's fighting for the American ideal abroad.
But I'm
Superman
also
is
talking about the like whenever you hear about Superman, there's always the truth, justice,
and the
and the
American way,
American way.
which
Like
they actually
those are always his
changed. Yeah,
taglines. It's always coming up.
right. Which they even
Yeah,
changed recently because they were
Yeah.
just like, oh,
Yeah, a
that
few years
doesn't.
ago, like,
Yeah,
he becomes, like, a citizen of Earth, and he's like, I'm
right.
not
yeah,
just about America anymore, it's too
Because
much
even
going on."
because even he realizes that the American way doesn't reflect the values of Superman himself.
Mhm.
It only took
hmm
him what 100 years to
Well, yeah, I
almost
mean
100 years, but
yeah.
I
and that
get it.
yeah.
Yeah, who was writing it then? Who's writing now? Ultimately, I'm just saying, if you're going, I
I
never saw Superman's. I never saw Joel and Schuster's dream of telling the immigrant story actually come to fruition until way later.
Mhm.
So I know that people say that's what they were trying to do, but I can honestly say having read so many of those comics, it feels like they missed the mark because, and I guess it has more to do with what factors they had to fight against. They had to make sure they wanted to continue making their best sales. So he had to be a lovable character for everyone. They don't want to go too much into dealing with people hating him. So only one character is constantly trying to knock him down a peg. So ultimately, you just get a story of immigrant who passes and doesn't face prejudice on a daily basis. Superman can go years without dealing with prejudice because he's just a white guy living in America in an era where white people didn't have to face prejudice at home. And I get it. Don't make him a black guy. Don't make him because you might not sell as many comics. But I do think you could have made him green. You could have started with Martian Manhunter, but then you don't get to have Martian Manhunter. To me is the perfect one because if you start off with a guy who's a shapeshifter and he's raised by this, he's raised by this family, but then when he's a superhero, he shapeshifts into a green alien. I think that could have worked just as well. And that gets your immigrant story across way better. And the public reacting to the fact that there's a green Martian saving the day is a mixed reaction of, yay, he's saving us. Oh, he doesn't look like us.
But again, I feel like it's one of those things where at that time, the audience wasn't as sophisticated or could see that comic books are a more elevated form of art.
Can I say this? I wouldn't say the audience. I would say white public wasn't looking for that because black people were sophisticated enough to have had that story.
But I'm saying, like, when I'm thinking of comics, I'm thinking of like when our maybe our parents, maybe even our grandparents were like reading that stuff. And again, I feel like maybe 70s and 80s, it starts getting more sophisticated, more, hey, let's do different stories. Let's go darker stories. Let's actually flesh this out a bit more.
No part of what I was saying was make the story of Superman darker, but you can tell a story that's more realistic.
Oh, and then there's also the comic code too. So you can't really do any of that stuff because that's why you would have pulp comics, romance comics, and it would kind of be separated. Horror stories and all that would be very, like, again, the landscape was very different for comics back then.
Yeah.
I get all that. I'm just saying.
Just to kind of bring it back to the beginning, I think people that would say Superman is their favorite character, they're old. This is the point I'm trying to make. They're probably way older and they remember, Christopher Reeves and they remember a more simpler time. And then I think now
they remember a time where
when you're a white kid, man, you're like,
yeah,
Superman's awesome. And then as you get a little bit older, you're like, no, I like this person a little bit more. This person's more relatable. This person, like you put them further down the list and you pick up other characters as you go along, kind of thing.
Yes.
I think that was the main thing I was trying to get at.
I definitely think that there are people who would argue that their favorite character was a white, blue-eyed superhero that looked just like every other white, blue-eyed man in the world.
So James Bond with superpowers?
Well, I think he's before James Bond, but yes.
Yeah, he is.
If anything, all of them mimic themselves off of Superman because they didn't see an immigrant. They saw themselves and they're just like, I am Superman. I have blue eyes, black hair. I look like him and I can do anything I want.
Random self-insertion.
Maybe Superman is the problem. Maybe that's why we have so many alt-right kids thinking they can do whatever they want.
Maybe superpower is privilege.
Well, shit.
I can do what I want and no one will call me out on it.
Yeah. The only person that calls me out is the stupid redheaded kid. Oh, he's bald now. Screw that kid. Oh, well, that's not a good lesson.
Superman for him going bald?
Yes, because of the radiation from kryptonite. But he's the one that fucked with kryptonite. No one told you to play with kryptonite your whole life, you idiot. The man loses all his hair and blames Superman. Sir, you gonna... That would be like if you blame someone for shooting yourself because you played with a gun to shoot them. How are you going to be mad at them? They didn't ask you to shoot them with a gun.
Because I think the original story is when Superman was younger and he was Superboy. He had a friend named Lex Luthor, and he had a redhead, and and then something happened, and he's like, I hate Superman. I hate Superboy. Blah blah blah.
There's multiple versions of him going bald. I know one of the versions is he plays with kryptonite way too much, and the radiation is what makes him go bald. And I always remember thinking, but that's a you problem, sir. No one told you to with the kryptonite.
But now you know. Now you know.
Yeah.
He lost his hair, so we would know.
I hate Superman even more. He made me go bald. How did he make
Had
you
to
go
learn the
bald?
hard way.
Did he burn your head? Did he shave your head? What did he do? Nothing. He just existed, and I got mad because I played with the gun.
But that sounds about right.
Yeah, that does sound like white privilege.
That sounds like Friends of Humanity.
Right?
Actually, wait,
That
you
sounds
know
like Friends
what?
of Humanity.
Jaws, the most immigrant aspect of Superman is a white man blaming him for something that happened to him.
Took
that
my
he had
job that I didn't
nothing
want.
to do with.
Took that job that I knew was a
Oh my
bad job I
God.
didn't apply for. How dare they?
I love it. I love it. You know what? I wanted to talk about superhero stuff today. I've been watching Supacell. I don't know if you guys have had a
Oh.
chance to watch that on Netflix.
No,
entire-
how is
didn't
it?
get a
I've heard it's
chance
really
yet.
good though.
Perfect
So-
rating. Rotten Tomatoes,
'Cause
apparently.
it looks
It got a
looks
it got
really
a good rating.
It got a very, very high
Yeah.
rating.
Yeah, it's getting
very
good
high.
reviews.
So I watched the whole series. In true British fashion, it is very short, which is always so sad to me.
Good. Don't waste your time. Good.
I know. My
Get in,
only
get out.
hey, the
You
Brits
have a
do it
banger?
best.
Put it in.
Yeah.
Give me
Leave
your
on a
high
high
five.
note. I agree. It's not that I needed more episodes. It's that I don't trust Netflix to renew it. So I'm like, I only got 6, and I don't trust Netflix. So I'm worried I'm never
It's
gonna
only
get.
6 episodes. Oh,
I'm pretty sure it's only 6 episodes.
That's
thought it
good.
was
Getting
8.
it out.
Let me double check.
Sucks.
But
No, you're
so
probably right.
I watched the show. It's super interesting. It's really well done. I know that it was produced by what's his name? Rapman, this UK rapper producer. Yeah, creator Rapman.
Mm.
So I'm
Mhm.
double checking the amount of episodes.
I don't even know him.
Yeah, so
I'll
there's
look
6
him up.
episodes. Yeah, I don't know Rapman that much myself. I know if you're British, you probably know him. A lot of my like the people I know out there knew who he was.
Mhm.
They're watching us like, come on, man, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Shout outs to the British
Bruv,
family.
Bro,
Yeah.
come on.
Bruv, I got you.
Try
I
a little.
Oh, he looks
Hey,
familiar.
at least we're not doing Drake's impression. This is our own
Top Boy?
None of that.
None of
please.
that. But Supercell is a story about and this is something that I found interesting because I am a carrier of sickle cell, but I don't have sickle cell.
Oh.
I have the trait. So watching a show that is about sickle cell and how it can affect people, and the idea that the parents have sickle cell, but the kids end up with a superpower was super interesting to me. So so that's the story. The story is you find out that all these people who have their powers that start to activate, they don't know why their powers are activating. And throughout the story, you start to find out that they are the children of people who have sickle cell. And that their power is something related to sickle cell.
Oh.
Wow,
So,
that's
yeah.
really interesting.
Very interesting.
How did you find out, by the way? Sorry if you don't mind me asking, because
No.
I'm anemic, so
Okay.
sometimes I'm like, how did you find out that you have sickle cell?
Oh, I have the trait?
Yeah.
Well, my
That's right.
yeah, before like I was a baby. My parents got me tested.
Okay.
Because I'm the
Wasn't like a
only
symptom later that you discovered or whatever.
No. I just have
Okay.
the trait. So I can't
Okay.
have a kid with someone who has sickle cell because they have a 75% chance of having it. And I shouldn't have a kid with someone who has the trait because they have a 50% chance of having it. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah. So that's something I would have to take into consideration if I meet a partner and we start talking about kids. We would both have to discuss that aspect.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I remember being in high school, and anyone that went to my high school is gonna know who I'm talking about. But like the hottest girl in our high school had sickle cell, and she was in my biology class. And when we talked about the section on biology and like traits that carry on from parents to kids, the teacher asked us like, okay, who in the class has, sickle cell? And like she raised her
Mhm.
hand, and then, does anyone know if they have the trait, a carrier? And I raised my hand, and they're like, and the teacher was just like, you two can never have
Oh.
kids.
I mean, you can have kids, but then you put a bunch of burden on that poor
Yeah,
child.
but no, he was pretty much making it like, don't have
Like,
kids.
don't
You
do
will
it. Yeah.
75% check. Don't do that.
Yeah,
Those are
Yeah.
bad casino odds. Like,
exactly.
Oh, okay.
So-
I just looked it up, and okay, so you're born with it. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm born with it. Yeah,
I didn't know that you had to be. I thought it was something that you can maybe like
that you
like
develop.
develop.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So I was born with it. I'm the only one of my
Okay.
dad's kids. On my dad's side, I'm the only one of his kids that has the trait. So you know, he always teased me. He was just like, you had to be the one that looked the most like me and be the most like me. I was just like, thanks, Dad. Yay. But all that to say, so when I found out, and then, you know, that whole thing in the class, it was kind of funny. But so this show Supercell, and that's why the name Supercell, SickleCell, because I always wondered, I thought Supercell was they were going to find out that they have like a secret cell in their body, but it's SickleCell,
Yeah.
which I thought was really cool because it gives
wow.
this small sense of empowerment for people who are possibly dealing with this. Because I used to work at a hospital. I worked in the ER. I've never had a crisis. I'd never seen anyone who had a crisis, but I saw someone come into the ER one time and have a crisis, and it looked like one of the most painful things I've ever seen in my life. And she was, you know, it was so sad that she was just here in the ER in the monitored care section, just waiting for help, but there was nothing they could give her. Like they were trying to ease her pain as much as possible, but there wasn't much they could do. And, you know, when I saw, it was really hard. And when I saw characters having the crisis in the show, I was just like, oh man, yes, like this is real. Like this is exactly how it looked when the woman had the crisis when I was in the ER. And I just remember thinking like, it is not easy to deal with that. So to write a story where already, you know, our lead character, who's played by Tossin, I think is his name, Tossin Cole, who, like, seeing our lead character empathize with his mother so much and want to do everything to help her. And like, he has a good job, he has a good partner, they're getting married, everything in his life is on the up and up. He's trying to find his mom a clinic that can help with sickle cell research and stuff. You know, they show you him.
So it's very like informative.
Yeah. Like they're doing a whole thing. And they're doing research. There's like and it's really nice to watch it. But then, you know, I can't spoil, but some stuff happens and it's a little difficult, you know. Essentially, I will say this: think Tuskegee Airmen. If you know what happened in the Black history with the Tuskegee Airmen, you'll understand what I'm saying without me having to say it. Most people know what I'm saying. Not everyone. Ness is looking it up right now for some. I saw the inquisitive face of,
how do we say it? Some bullshit.
Yes. Yeah.
Some F shit.
Yeah. So think Tuskegee Airmen when you think of what would happen when people are now doing research and, you know. So the show tackles that stuff really well. It does a good job. It's really interesting. The acting is on point. On this podcast, we've had Kwanzaa on in the past. He did the comic book Black, where only Black people have superpowers. So shout out to Kwanzaa. When I watched this show, there was definitely a moment of feeling like, damn, they really stepping on each other's toes. But I will say, it is different enough that both of these stories could live in their own universes. Because if you can have Superman and Shazam, you can have Supercell and Black. You know what I mean? Like, you can have these two universes where Black people have powers. There's a reason, you know, in Supercell, it's SickleCell. In Black, it's just a factor of Black people. But the more you mix, your powers are strengthened or lessened by the mixing. So I'm sorry, my light-skinned siblings and fam out there, y'all might not necessarily have the same powers as some of us darker skin deep would probably have the strongest powers in the crew. Shout outs to him. But like I might have my, you know, there's some Irish in my mom's side, so I might not have the strongest. It is what it is. But you know, like
Venezuelan
Venezuelan
in me. Yeah.
There you go. You know, so like when like Black as a comic book is great, it has cool stories, but Black feels more like an X-Men story, and Supercell doesn't feel X-Men, even though it has the kind of generic lore of like superheroes being hunted and blah blah blah. It doesn't feel exactly like an X-Men story, which I appreciated. I thought that was really
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
And I gotta say, yeah, no, check it out. And I gotta say, as much as we joke about a British fam, yeah, it's so fun to watch this type of show with like British characters and like
Are they
hanging
using
out.
a lot of slang?
Oh, all the slang.
Oh, I
All
love
the
that. I
slang.
love that so much. Like
That's
Top Boy?
Okay, so I have to admit something. I didn't watch Top Boy.
You didn't watch?
I didn't watch Top Boy.
Why
I
not?
know. I know. Okay.
Why not?
Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out.
I don't know if I want to. I don't know, fam. I don't know.
That was
don't
so
know, fam. I
perfect,
don't know.
Jaws. That was so perfect. I
Allow
don't know
it.
if I want to, fam. I think that's the title. I don't know if I want to, fam. I don't know if I want to.
Whose man's is this? That's so funny.
Whose man this then?
Whose man's is it? I know. Okay, so I'll explain very quickly. I know that I have a problem when it comes to some of these shows.
Ooh,
I
what's your
like.
problem?
I didn't watch The Wire at first. Oh, Skinny! Oh, come on now. Of course,
The
as soon
Wire?
as
Nah, man, come on, you can't say that.
as soon as I
You say
talk
Top Boy
about
3 times, Skinny
Yeah.
appears. Poof. Top Boy, Top Boy, Top Boy.
Da-da-da. Okay, now let me just explain real quick. I didn't watch a lot of shows that were about Black gang violence because I was tired of always seeing that being the main depiction of Black culture. So there was a lot of time like
Fair.
like I liked watching Fresh Prince, Martin. Like I like watching shows where Black characters had careers, had families, there was growth, and the shows where we were just depicted as like, oh, these guys, this is a gang, this is another gang, these are drug dealers. And I spent a lot of time in a negative space about that aspect of Black culture. And then I actually watched the shows and recognized, oh, hey, we have to tell these stories because there are people dealing with these things. There are people who face these actual situations in the real world.
Yeah.
And you can't
It's
only
reality.
depict. Yeah.
And I was
sorry.
going to say also the cool thing about The Wire, it gives you a full
Right.
360. You see everybody. You see everybody's point of view of what's going on and how it affects each other and all of them. But
So
go on.
good.
This is your story. Sorry.
Oh, he's
Oh, no.
frozen.
Oh no, Brian, you're frozen.
Oh no, we lost him.
Oh no. He was gonna tell us his
Oh,
revelation and
no.
He was.
just froze. And when they needed him the most, he
Yeah,
disappeared.
no, right? He's
Dang.
man. Dang.
That's
We also have
Cool.
some heavy rain going on right now.
Yeah,
so maybe
that could be
kinda
a part
got
of
him
that.
a
Oh,
bit.
maybe that's why.
Yeah.
You got thunderstormed out, yeah. Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
let's see if I could get a hold of him on the other side. His power just went out, people.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's
Again. Last week and then this week. Oh no.
God damn.
Pivotal times, both times. That's wild. Look at that. Well,
God
But speaking of
damn.
The Wire, R.I.P. to
We will
Lance
never
Reddick.
know why he did not watch Top Boy.
we never know why.
At least
We'll
he
find
watched
out.
Attack the Block, I hope.
I mean, I hope that was a different
I didn't
one,
watch
but
that.
I
You didn't watch
okay.
Attack
That-
the Block? It's so good.
No. It was the same time as The Wire?
It's
A little bit after.
Okay.
a little time after, but it's
A little
more
time
what's the name of the dude in it again that played that was in
Boyega, something.
yeah.
It's
That
gonna
was in
bother me.
Star
He was
Wars.
in Star Wars. Not the first one.
It's called, what is it called?
Attack the Block.
Attack the Block.
Attack
So
the
it's like
Block.
it's like imagine an
2011.
alien invasion story happening in like one of those projects in Britain, but I know they call projects something else. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, assisted living? No, they call it something else, but it's
Housing?
basically, huh?
The housing projects or something.
Yeah,
It's,
something like that.
Oh, wow, I've never seen this.
Actually, really good.
Yeah.
2011 it came out. Not
Yeah,
even like that
John
old.
Boyega. That's it.
Oh wow. Yeah, it has great reviews. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
put this in my
If
list.
you get to
It looks really
check it
interesting.
out, watch it. It's really, really good. So I mean, like, you get that same kind of
Wow, okay.
vibe.
As The
I think
Wire?
hmm?
As The Wire?
No, not the like, I would say maybe more so Top Boy because it
Closer to
happens in
Top
the
Boy,
UK.
but yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
So you
okay.
have that kind of like talk and accent, and there's drill music. Well, maybe pre-drill music because it's
Pre-British drill, like more
2011.
grime,
Yeah, there we go. Because you have
more
that drug
Dizzy.
dealer that's like
Yeah.
rapping in there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm down for this.
It's really good.
Well, thanks for that.
So
How
it's
do we
like,
get here? What were we talking about?
because he said he didn't watch Top Boy, and then he was
Oh
gonna
yeah,
explain
yeah,
how
yeah.
he got there, and then bring it back into Supacell and all that kind of
Supercell.
stuff.
True. Did you watch it, Skinny?
I did not watch Supercell, but I will now go watch it. I was actually here in the background as a test and checking things out, but I had to jump in when he said he didn't watch Top Boy just real quick, and here I am. This
He
is where I'm
wasn't
at.
wrong when he said that, so
Pulled-
he jumped in.
pulled
Yeah.
you out.
Pulled me out. But yeah, no. All to say, no, I didn't watch Supercell, but I will check that out.
Yeah,
Seems like an alright
it's
show
really
to
good.
check out. I haven't been watching much lately. Really, there hasn't been
Same.
much in these summer months that I've been really like needing to check out. So it's been a very, very slow summer in terms of TV. Like there's just
The Boys?
okay. So here's the thing about The Boys. I tend to get bored midway through the season, and like it gets a little too chatty and like, oh, they're saving their budget to do just like a lot of extra crazy gruesome kills in episode 7 and 8. So like 5, 6 tend to have some shocking moments, but like and I think I didn't watch 7, but I heard about what happened in 7. I was kind of like perturbed by that, and then someone spoiled the last episode for me, so I was just like,
no.
I don't need to watch this. Like I was to the point where I was actually 1.5 speeding the episodes because I was just like, I couldn't get through. Like it'd be talking and just be like, "Bap, bap, 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 bap. Okay, nope, don't care.
I mean, I agree with you that it's chatty. It is chatty for
super
sure.
chatty. So I was just making sure like no one's gonna die in this scene. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and grab those kids and put them all to sleep. But all to
so you
say,
just like lost interest.
Yeah, just lost.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Oh, he's back.
Oh, hey.
I had to. So my power went out.
Yeah, we heard. Oh my god.
I'm now connected through my phone. I would turn my camera on, but I'm literally using a little lamp. I'm gonna try and turn my camera on.
Oh, it's just me now. Hello.
All right, maybe I won't touch anything because obviously that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Why, you don't want to show with only me?
Would you no? Because then he couldn't turn his camera on, and then I would slide him in, but then that wouldn't work. But
that's okay.
Anyways, but tell them why you did not watch Top Boy.
Right.
Yourself.
So when I ended up watching The Wire, I got into The Wire and I was just like, okay, this isn't actually that bad. And then I meant to watch Top Boy, but didn't end up watching Top Boy because I watched like the first episode and kept saying, okay, I'm going to come back. I'm going to watch it later. It'll be fine. Just jump in. And then I kept not watching it and watching other stuff. But then by the time it ended, I was just like, perfect, I'll watch this. And then Drake came along and added another season. And I was like, okay, well, now I'm not going to lie. It was Drake. It was Drake doing it, if I'm being fully honest. I'm telling you the truth.
Principle, you're not watching it.
I mean, I don't blame you, to be honest. Like anything that, but the only thing I have to say about that is, yes, his name is on it, but he's not actually doing anything.
He's not in it.
Like, he's not doing anything. Like, he's not part of the process. But it's so irritating that just his name can affect someone from watching it. It's irritating. But I totally understand. But obviously, he's not actually involved in the process of the show.
Right.
It's just he just likes to jump onto everything.
And I appreciate that because of his position, he's able to come along and say, yo, I like this show so much. And I don't, because the show wasn't canceled, right? It had been the end. Like they ended it and then he wanted more is what happened.
I thought it was canceled. Let me double check.
Yeah, I thought it
Yeah.
was canceled too, but that would make more sense because it is a British show, so that wouldn't make
Yeah,
any
'cause
sense that they would just.
some of these British shows will make like 2 seasons, 3 series. Sorry, not even seasons. They do the series, and then they just end. They don't come back.
Yeah, they tell their
So-
story and they're gone.
Right. So in that case, I wasn't sure if the show had gotten, if it just ended because they were just like, okay, we told enough story and that's all we wanted to tell, or if there was more they wanted to tell. I'm not sure. I never really got to the end of that, but
No,
I just-
it was canceled. Yeah,
oh, it was fully canceled. Okay.
it was
Yeah.
fully canceled apparently in 2014. And then when Drake stepped in, I guess he was able to get the show back on the wagon.
Well, you know, well, that's it. That one of the things that turned me off of the whole situation was, oh, this man has so much money that he can put the money behind a show he likes to just bring it back. Like, can you imagine if we all had that power? How many
No.
uncanceled shows there's? You know what? Question to both of you right now: you have Drake level money and could get a show made because you have that much pull in the industry. What show that has been canceled are you bringing back?
Dog City.
Oh, I don't even know that one. What's Dog City?
Dog
Ooh.
City is a old Jim Henson production, and half of it is puppets. So it's this
Okay.
animator. He's making a cartoon show, and it's about like it's almost like again a power fantasy. It's about this guy named Ace Hart, private eye dog, and his adventures as being a private eye dog. And that power fantasy stuff is animated. So
Okay.
it's almost like is it Run Amok is the name of that cartoon from Looney Tunes where
Oh.
where the
Scribbly?
yeah like La Linea and
Yeah.
and like Donald Duck, sorry, Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny are talking to the animator and then
Right,
the
right, right,
animator's
right, right.
animating stuff around
Yes,
them.
yes, yes.
So it's very similar. It's like that, but you actually see the animator, and the animator is in that whole section is puppets.
Oh, okay, okay.
And then he's drawing what he's seeing in his life, kind of like, oh, I really like my next door neighbor, Collie. And so she's the chief of police, and she's always back and forth with Ace Hard, but they're kind of in love with each other. And I don't like my landlord. So he's like the mob boss, you know, so like that kind of stuff. So I would bring that back, but that's it. You know, it came and went. It was like maybe a season or two. Like, you know, it did its time.
Oh,
Hey!
there you are.
Is this creepy enough?
With the glasses, it's perfect.
Doing it by candlelight.
Literally. That's a
Yeah, I know,
lamp, but
still.
I feel like I should swing it back and forth. Like, oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna say when the power goes out, but you're still dedicated to the pod.
But what's who's the creepy one that swings a lantern on a horse? Sleepy Hollow dude?
The
Oh,
Headless
okay.
Horseman.
Yeah, Headless Horseman.
Headless Horseman.
I'm doing the podcast from the bowels of hell. Anyway, sorry.
So
I
Ness,
can't
what show
think
you?
of
No?
many shows that have like I've watched so many shows. that
Right.
I can't remember which ones were canceled and not whatnot. For some reason, the only one that comes to my mind right now is the Get Down. I don't know why.
Oh, that's okay. No, that's a very good example. Yeah, the Get Down got Netflix canceled it.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah,
I really enjoyed it.
and a
but-
solid cast too, right? Because I feel like
it was a
Yaya
great
and
cast.
and then Justice. There's a
Yeah.
few. Yeah.
And I can't remember the girl's name. I just remember enjoying the show, and then when I found out it was canceled, I was a little sad, a little bummed. It's not the greatest show, but it was a fun show.
Yeah.
But I can't think of
I was thinking the
many.
reason I asked you the question, and I was hoping I would think of one in the time it took y'all to answer, but you both answered so fast. Jaws immediately answered, which doesn't help. Jaws, you couldn't at least pretend.
I mean,
Jaws
I
was
could
just
have been like, no, I would say Luther, but Luther already has so many series.
Yeah, and a movie.
There's no
Oh.
point.
Oh my god.
Actor, name the actors.
I can't remember his name.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's a Netflix series. There's two
Okay,
of them
well-
actually that was canceled. There was Jessica.
Just the Marvel show.
Yes.
Jessica Jones. No, is that her name?
Yeah.
Is it Jessica
Yeah.
Jones?
I think it's Jessica.
Jessica Jones.
No, it's not. What's
Yeah.
Jessica?
It was
Yeah,
Jessica
Marvel's
Jones.
Jessica Jones.
That one was canceled.
Yeah. Oh wow. So you would bring that back because a lot of people didn't like that, but I liked it as a
I
series.
liked it. I
Yeah,
liked
me
it
too.
a lot.
I did. I thought it was good. It's based on the comic book Alias. For anyone who's wondering, if you want to check that comic book out, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Brian Michael Bendis wrote the comic book. So if you guys are looking for a solid read, Alias with Jessica Jones, Brian Michael Bendis, good title to check out. And then the show is loosely based on that story. If I had to bring back a show that was canceled. God, Netflix's graveyard is so big. They're probably the first place.
Wasn't
Hey, my
Daredevil
power's
canceled
back.
too?
All right. That was creepy.
Oh yay!
Oh, power just went out. No, the power is. Oh, my computer didn't turn back on. See, this is why I need a proper power supply.
Wasn't
I can't
Daredevil
think.
also canceled?
Say what?
Wasn't Daredevil also canceled?
Yeah, but that's coming back already.
That's supposed to come back.
We're getting Born Again. Yeah, it's what Vincent. That's what remember I played the clip last week where Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yes. No, but I'm talking about the Netflix series. That one.
Yeah, well, this is the continuation. That show's going to be a continuation of that.
But it's not. Is it with the same cast?
Yeah. Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio.
Okay.
They're all coming back.
I didn't
think
even watch all seasons of it.
I'm actually rewatching Daredevil right now. Now that you bring it up,
are you supposed to watch Echo too?
Which one too?
Are you supposed to watch Echo as well?
You don't have to watch Echo for this show, but I do think it would be helpful because if you know Kingpin's story, there is a point where he runs for mayor. And this is a lot of the stuff that leads up to what I think is going to be the story of him running for mayor in Born Again. So there's a few things that you might want to know that I think would be helpful to the character. But ultimately, I don't think you have to. I think you should be okay without it.
Okay.
Oh, The Boys
I'm trying to start my computer back up. Say what?
The Boys was canceled?
No, The Boys isn't canceled. It's done. Season 5 is going to be their last season.
But it said it was. Oh, I'm reading here that it was canceled, though. I guess they decided it was the last season?
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things where it's like, oh, this has come to an end.
Yeah.
Like we're bringing, yeah, because there's a lot. That's something I always find weird when people try to argue that a show is canceled just because it comes to an end naturally.
Yeah, because I'm on the site that's saying like all the renewed and canceled shows, and they have it listed as canceled.
Are you on my favorite site, ismyshowcancelled.com?
No. This is editorial.rottentomatoes.com.
You gotta be careful with editorials sometimes.
Honestly, Ness, if you look up "Is My Show Cancelled," you can do it by network. You can do it by year. Like that's the best site to find out about canceled shows.
Okay. Well, it does say canceled after 6th and final season. I mean, 5th and final season. So I guess they're still saying it's the final season, but it's weird that they're rating it as canceled.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider that canceled if they're ending the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm going to be right back for the last 10 minutes because my power's back and the computer's back on. So I'm going to switch back over.
Okay.
Alrighty.
So have you been watching anything new, Ness, or any?
Not really. Kind of like Brian. I mean, kind of like Skinny. It's been kind of a slow summer for me for shows. But also I've been really busy, so I haven't really had the time to like dive into anything. But I started Acolyte.
Oh, okay.
And it was good, but I only got to episode 4. And I was enjoying it.
That's good.
You're back.
Which
episode? I just haven't finished it. Huh?
She said episode 4.
Of which show? Sorry.
Acolyte.
No. Oh no.
Don't ruin it. Let her finish. Let her finish the show.
Oh,
sorry.
Finish the show.
What? No, Ness, nothing. It's fantastic. You should definitely not listen
don't
to
read
the
up on it on the internet.
It started
watch
so
it.
strong.
Ness, don't listen to this episode in which
Oh, you're a little choppy there, Brian.
Oh no.
Oh
I
no.
didn't lose it
I
again.
hope it's. I'm
He's gonna
checking
be so
again.
mad. He's gonna be so mad.
You're. Oh,
My
okay. You're back. You're
my
back.
internet's a
Oh.
little.
Ah!
Oh no. You're choppy.
I know.
Maybe turn off the camera. It might help.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too.
There you go.
Do I sound like a robot? Yeah, some like a
No,
No.
you're a
robot.
little bit better now.
Before you were like, my internet's a little. Ah!
Yeah, no.
My internet is a little meep morp. Morp
Yeah,
meep.
yeah, no. Don't watch the end of last week's episode where I politely describe how I feel about the storytelling
Oh.
in a
Yeah,
respectable.
the internet has feelings about that show, so just be careful with don't
I mean,
Google
it's.
anything.
I'm not. It won't. If I get spoilers, whatever. To be honest, because I'm not like heavily into the Star Wars
Discord.
territory. Yeah, so I'm
Zeitgeist.
not. If I see spoilers, like it's whatever. But it started strong, and I was enjoying it more
Right.
than Mandalorian.
Oh.
But
Ooh.
That is a big statement. Okay.
for me, because I just found Mandalorian was too slow for me. I was bored like watching it.
I
But
could
that's
I could
probably
understand
because
that.
I have a lack of understanding of a lot of the Star Wars
Hmm.
stuff.
Well, I would say Mandalorian is plays out more like a Western,
Yes.
and
Yes,
Westerns
and
are
I
just
don't like Westerns.
yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay.
I don't like Westerns. Like I get
It's
so
more set up like a
bored.
Western and just
Yes,
boom
that's
going from town
exactly
to
what it
town.
is.
Yeah.
Because I don't like Westerns. I know that there's great Westerns, obviously, but
Yeah.
I'm not a fan
So
of Westerns. I
Three
can
Ten to
never stay
Yuma,
focused.
Tombstone. Sorry, I just wanted to shout out the good westerns.
I think there's a new Wyatt Earp on Netflix or something.
Yes, Wide Earp and the Cowboy War. I am both looking forward to and very scared of how bad that's going to be.
Because it could be just as bad as the Kevin Costner Wyatt Earp that came out, I think, alongside Tombstone or a little bit after that Tombstone.
And if I'm not mistaken, the reason that he made that movie was because he was offered the role in Tombstone and then didn't want it, and then something happened, and then Kurt Russell came in, and
I think I think they offered him the role. He was going to take it, but they had conflicting versions of what they wanted to do with that character.
Right. Well, I'm already very worried about this show because the trailer depicts the show in the way where the Earps are heroes, which is how most people depict it. But my understanding is after because a lot of people know I find the shootout at the OK Corral very interesting. If you don't know that, just look up my name. Brian Holiday comes from Doc Holliday. Doc Holliday ran with Wyatt Earp. So that's how much I find this stuff interesting. I look into it. My first experience with it was watching the Star Trek episode where they end up on this planet that's reenacting the shootout at the OK Corral, and they become part of the story. Very fun Star Trek episode. But anyways, all that to say, I find this story very interesting. And when I finally did the research myself, because when you like something so that has such a like it's such a myth. It's like an urban legend, but it actually happened. So it's not an urban legend. There are actually written documents about what happened. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like, based on the timeline, the Earps were fucking with this other family. It
was a weird back and forth. I know even this YouTube show, Extra History, talks about it. And there was some bad blood between the two people, and it just it just got out of hand.
The other family is depicted as these savage villains, and when you look at the story, it's nope, they were both just assholes to each other. The Earps are not good people either. So
they were supposed to just walk out of town and leave, but then one person thought they saw the other guy draw a gun on him, and then blah, 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 blah. It just was crazy.
So that's why the Netflix trailer, when I watch the trailer's just the man who was a legend, who fought a war against a corrupt family. And I'm like, Whoa! Already? You can't say in the trailer that he's the good guy.
It was two brothers and their friend from a town over,
dude. And then the fact that they say based on a true story, and I'm like, yo, this is the most this is some biased bullshit. Leave these poor people alone. Now,
that
don't get
family
me
ain't
wrong.
around him, or they all dead.
Exactly.
That shit about them.
History is told by the victors, and in this one, the Earps definitely won and ran through the streets yelling, "We the best!" And it was like, calm down, sir.
We the baddest.
Yo, you saw how I shot his head off? It's like, God damn, sir, have some decency. You just killed a man. Yeah, I did. It's like, okay, that's the whole Earp energy is like them celebrating over dead bodies, and you're just like, you left women and children behind. This is
not my cup of tea.
Yeah, this is a travesty. I love Tombstone, but when I look back, I'm like, oh, what a sad story. But yeah, Doc Holliday, great character. Actually, he's not a good character, if I'm being honest.
Tuberculosis, right?
Yeah, he has tuberculosis. He sleeps with hookers, and he's a murdering card player.
Well, that was the style at the time.
Yeah. I'll get that. This time, I'll give it to you, Jaws. It definitely was the era of cowboys, drugs, prostitutes. That's fair.
That's fair. You go play your hand of poker. You go to the the saloon and have a few drinks,
right.
And then you go upstairs.
Sorry, Ness, what were you saying?
Deal with the woman of the night. And
no,
you come back down to play another hand.
You guys are describing the Will from Saga.
Oh yeah, yes. The Will is pretty much based off of these types of characters.
Yeah.
Like,
and they're not good people, but like they're kind of likable.
Exactly.
Likable
scam. And you're like, I don't know why I like him, but I do.
Yeah, 100%. Why I took the nickname Doc Holliday because of Val Kilmer's performance in Tombstone. I loved it so much that I was just like, I'm gonna use the name Doc Holliday. That's it. I just spelled Holiday differently.
Another character recently that I saw that's like that is what's he called in Fallout?
Oh, the Ghoul?
Played by Walton, yes.
Oh yeah, the Ghoul.
Yes. The Ghoul. Another one.
Perfect.
He's like not a good person, but you're like rooting for him at the same time.
Well, especially when you find out his situation, you're just
like,
oh
yeah, you know that he's like trauma and he's been through shit. But
I heard the person that I guess the director of the show or one of the main creators of Fallout said, this Ghoul character, this Ghoul person. All right. What I want you to do, production people, is to creative effects people or the costuming people. Like, okay, I wanted you to take this character. This is what he looks like. Ew, that's gross. Make him more beautiful. Make him more hot.
What?
Like, just nice him up in the face a bit, because I want people to like. He's gonna do terrible things, but I want people to be like, ooh, he's. I don't. But that hole in his head. But
he's
beautify him a little bit.
He's just confused. That's all it is. And you're like, I don't know about that.
But if you look at the game, like his character, his face looks way more messed up in the game.
Oh yeah,
I know people were. I saw people were getting upset about it because they're like, "Why is he handsome? He's not supposed to be handsome."
Well, then you wouldn't want to look at it. That's why.
I haven't played the game, so I didn't know about it until I looked it up. But I saw everyone like ripping it, being like, "What is this?" Like,
I love that people said, "Why is he so handsome?" Y'all, it's Hollywood. Like, don't forget, you still have to sell the movie to the people.
Exactly.
There's a bunch, like, you can't make bad guys too ugly. This isn't horror. That's the thing. People who like games like Fallout are also the same type of people who probably are okay with horror movies, and they're just like, yeah, this is how a character. Yeah. That's happily pointing at herself. But that's the thing. You're used to that aesthetic, whereas some of us, me, who doesn't watch horror, does not want to see like pieces of flesh decaying off of a face.
Yeah, some people are more sensitive to that. I get it. I think I'm just desensitized.
Right, right. Exactly. I stopped watching The Walking Dead after Glenn. I stopped. Yeah, I stopped.
It was too gory for you.
They went too far for me.
What about the boys?
The boys aren't even doing like what. what do you? What has been? Actually, no. There's been some heads caved in. Okay, you're right. Yeah,
The boys. I was actually surprised at how gory the boys
But-
is.
I think the reason The Boys doesn't hit me as hard is because The Boys is set in a less grounded reality, whereas The Walking Dead, it wasn't a zombie. A human hit another human with a bat covered in barbed wire. Like, it wasn't a zombie attack. If it was a zombie attack, I could separate myself from it and be like, oh la la, I'm just watching a TV show. But the human
but it's the same in The Boys.
Yeah, but it's superheroes. It's like people on jacked up V drugs, like
Okay, so for
punching.
you, it depends on the context.
Yes, because
Okay.
someone who can punch through a wall, or a guy who spews white liquid from a hole above his butt. I'm laughing at the ridiculousness of the universe, so it doesn't hit me as hard. But Walking Dead, it was humans captured other humans and said, one of y'all got to die so I can make a point. And then you bashed his head in the worst possible way. And I just said, nope, I'm out. I can't do this. This is just, y'all are just doing this for shits and giggles. And then I read the comic book and found out that it was done exactly like in the comic book, in which case I had to accept,
Yeah.
I am ashamed to say I did not continue a show that stuck true to its comic book origin. That's on me. Guys,
Speaking of comics, I need to... Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I didn't realize what time it was.
I know. We're done. I mean,
We're
part
done.
of it was me running around in the dark. So that's probably why you're just like, what the heck? But anything you guys want to tell the people? I know there's a bunch of trailers we wanted to tell people to go check out.
Oh,
we're doing the trailers, or we're just gonna.
I just wanted to list them off.
Yeah.
Because I'll read all the headlines. Ex-EA devs from form new studio to develop a spiritual successor to NBA Street's the Run for Next.
No, it's called The Run Got Next.
Got Next. Okay.
Yeah, so that's what the extra trailer was.
So, but I also had it in the news because I saw the article. I didn't even know you had the trailer. So The Run Got Next official announcement teaser trailer is out. We have Kneecap, the trailer. Michael Fassbender, a biopic. Gaelic hip hop in Ireland is out. Joker.
Actually, that's pretty recent. I think that guy actually performed on Jimmy Fallon 2 months ago.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Joker Folie à Deux official trailer is out with Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. Very different take from the original Harley Quinn from what it looks like. We'll see. The movie comes out in October. And then Fight Night, the $1 Million Heist, which is I'll say this really quick. I feel like Peacock is trying to cater to Black culture because it seems like they're doing a lot of like focusing on Black shows and stuff on Peacock. And I'm not mad at it, but just don't do what UPN and all those other people did.
But I also think because they have Kevin Hart and what's his name, Snoop Dogg doing commentary for the Olympics on there. I think there's a lot of other stuff that's kind of going on where they're giving people like opportunities to do this kind of stuff. So
I'm not mad at it. I'm just saying, don't do what UPN, Fox, and all those other networks have done.
That always do.
They always do. They always start in the Black community because they know we will support. And then as soon as y'all get the numbers up, you start to cancel shows slowly and bring in shows like One Tree Hill. The fuck out of here. We're not falling for that shit again.
One thing I will say is I hope Sam Jackson is enjoying working with, I think everybody on that cast is not a rapper, so keep complaining about it. But he's the only one that's always working with rappers, it seems like.
Hilarious.
Is Drake,
no, it's an
is
all
Drake
black
on it?
cast.
Drake has a cameo somewhere probably. Actually,
Damn.
they can't. No, I'm joking. They can't have Drake around kids. We know that. Sorry.
And this is the movie where we get to see what's his name, with the feathered hair.
Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard with his feathered hair. It was for this movie. That's why he had the feathered hair.
Oh boy. As if he needs an excuse to have feathered hair. Anyways, guys, we're out. That was the whole show. And Jaws, you want to say it before we bounce?
Yeah, check out Transformer Slag and the Toy Armada podcast with Aaron Archer, both on YouTube.
And I just want to let everyone know the first episode of the Dumbest Timeline Series 2 is dropping this Friday. And I have a bunch of episodes that are going to be coming. They're very short. They're 15-minute episodes. These are going to be quick. Yeah, 15-minute episodes talking about AI. So you guys can check it out. It's going to be out on Friday. We're out, folks. That's the whole show. Peace, everybody.
Bye.